Hi everyone, and thank you for being here. This video will be useful for participants and their carers who want to better understand what plan management is, how it works, and how it fits into the bigger NDIS picture. My name is Lusya and I'm a registered support coordinator, and I have been for many years helping participants in understanding and choosing their plan management options. So today I want to walk you through this concept clearly and simply so you feel more confident making a decision regarding what kind of plan management option you would like. If you find this video useful, I would really appreciate a quick like and subscribe. It's free and helps this channel grow so we can keep breaking down NDIS together. Before we dive into the specific, let's talk about what does it mean when we talk about managing your NDIS funding, or the way your plan is managed, and why does it matter? There's a lot of NDIS jargon that is thrown around, and my aim in this video is to explain what you need to know to be informed and aware of your choice. So when your NDIS plan is approved, you're given a certain amount of funding across different categories that you can spend on supports and services. But the funding that you spend on these supports and services need to somehow get from your fund to the provider as a payment. In order for that to happen, there needs to be a system in place to receive invoices, review those invoices, and then process those invoices, as well as track spending so you know how much funding is remaining. So this process, or this responsibility of receiving, reviewing, processing invoices, and keeping track of the budget is what is referred to the management of the plan, or the way the funding is being managed. And the system of managing the plan can be handled in three different ways, or a combination of these. First way is the NDIA managed, or also referred to as agency managed funding. If your plan is NDIA managed, that means the system that will be handling, receiving, reviewing, and processing your invoices for supports is performed by the National Disability Insurance Agency, the agency itself that handles the NDIS funding. And it is self-evident from the name. Plan being NDIA managed means the funding is managed by the NDIA. The key limitation here, though, is that NDIA can only process invoices from providers that are NDIS-registered. So if you are using unregistered providers, their invoices won't be processed. And basically you are restricted to working with only providers who have been through the official NDIA registration process. Later in the video, I will explain the difference between registered and unregistered providers and why that matters as well. So I hope you stick around. Second way is self-managed funding. If you choose to self-manage your NDIS plan, you take on full responsibility for receiving invoices from providers, submitting claims through the NDIS portal, and paying providers directly from your nominated bank account once funds are released. And the other option is you can purchase supports out of your own pocket, submit the claim through the NDIS portal, and then receive the reimbursement. You'll need to track your budget, store records, and make sure all spending aligns with your plan goals and the NDIS rules. The key advantage is maximum flexibility. You can use both registered and unregistered providers, and unlike other management types, you're not bound by NDIS price limits. This means you can negotiate your own rates or choose premium services if that better suits your needs. However, you'll need to justify your choice if you're audited, showing how each support directly aligns with your goals and delivers better outcomes than the standard options. Being self-managed is ideal for people who want full control and are comfortable with handling admin, compliance, and record keeping. But on the other hand, self-management may not be suitable for participants who find admin tasks such as managing invoices challenging or overwhelming. If you're not confident with financial tracking or compliance, it quickly can become very stressful and exhausting. So in these cases, I would definitely recommend plan management or NDIA management. That may be a better option for you. And lastly, plan managed funding, the final way of how your funding or your plan can be managed, just to make it more confusing with the terminology. So the system that will be receiving, reviewing, and processing the invoices for your supports will be handled by a plan manager. The plan manager is a provider that is separate from NDIA, that manages invoices and keeps track of the funding on your behalf. You don't have to do any of the financial admin yourself, and your providers don't have to be NDIA registered, so you get a little bit more flexibility here. That means you can use local services, community therapists, or support workers who aren't formally registered with the NDIS, as long as the services are in line with your plan goals and the NDIS pricing arrangements. Now let's look at the plan management option a bit closer. If you have been approved for your whole plan or certain categories of your plan to be plan managed, the funding for this will be under Improved Life Choices category in your plan. This category is not flexible, meaning it will only be used towards Plan Manager, and it will be automatically used as your plan progresses. The key takeaway to keep in mind is NDIA adds funding on top of your existing budget to cover it. So you do not have to worry about this category, as NDIA allocates exactly the right amount toward Plan Manager service fees, so you don't lose any therapy hours or support work time by adding a Plan Manager to your plan. Just like the support workers or therapists, you have a choice and control. You can look for a plan manager online, you can ask for recommendations from your support coordinator, you can also interview plan managers before engaging with them and making sure that they can explain their services and support and to which extent they can assist you. You can also choose to change plan managers if you're not happy with their service, because you don't have to settle for providers you're not entirely happy with. And this is true for any type of support with NDIS. Now let's look at the difference between the registered and unregistered providers, as this is a large aspect when trying to decide what is the better way of managing your plan. When choosing your supports under the NDIS, one key decision is whether to work with registered or unregistered providers, and understanding the difference can have real impact on your experience. So curiously, while the term unregistered might sound risky, the reality is that a large portion of NDIS providers in Australia are actually unregistered. In fact, industry data shows that approximately 2/3 of active NDIS providers are unregistered, meaning the majority of the service options available, especially in the local communities, fall outside of the NDIA's formal registration system. So the registered providers have gone through the NDIA's official registration and audit process. This means that they meet specific quality and safeguard standards and are required to follow the NDIS pricing arrangements and price limits. If your plan is NDIA managed, or as I mentioned previously, this could also be referred to as agency managed, you can only use registered providers. So this is your default options. So the pros of using an NDIA registered provider is that they are actually operating in a tightly governed system, and the NDIA will handle all of the payments, invoices directly. This can be assuring for participants who prefer more structure and oversight and clear compliance. But there are some downsides, meaning that the registered providers may have longer wait lists, be less flexible, and you might have fewer options, especially in rural or regional areas where availability is already limited. On the flip side, the unregistered providers, which make up the majority of the provider market, can include everything from independent therapists to support workers to cleaners or small community services. And these providers haven't gone through the NDIS registration, but many are highly skilled and experienced. The big advantage of using unregistered providers is the flexibility. If you're self-managed or plan-managed, you're free to engage these providers, negotiate their own pricing, and access supports that are often more personalized or culturally appropriate. This is especially valuable in regional areas where options are already limited. So the trade-off is that you'll need to do a little bit more due diligence yourself, like checking the experience, ensuring they provide proper invoices, and making sure their services align with your plan goals. In the end, the choice between registered and unregistered providers really depends on how your plan is managed and how much freedom, flexibility, and involvement you want in selecting your supports. Just remember, the majority of available services are actually unregistered, so opening access to the broader pool can make a huge difference in finding the right fit for you. Now, to add another layer of complexity to my explanation, while many supports under the NDIS can be delivered by either registered or unregistered providers, especially if you're self-managed or plan-managed, there are some support types that must be delivered by NDIA-registered providers only, regardless of how the rest of your plan is managed. These typically include specialist disability accommodation, like SDA housing, and any supports involving restrictive practices, such as behavioral supports or interventions that will limit a person's rights or freedom of movement. Regardless of whether the rest of your plan is self-managed or plan-managed, if your plan includes any of the above-mentioned supports, that specific budget must be NDIS managed, even if the rest of the plan is managed differently. This is due to the fact that high-intensity supports where safety and safeguarding are critical, providers must be formally registered with the NDIS to be accountable for the responsibility and the risk associated with the care, and also be eligible for payment. Registration ensures that providers meet strict quality and safeguarding standards, are subject to regular audits, and are capable of delivering services in line with the NDIS legislation and the practice standards. Now, you might have a couple of questions. For example, what is the best way to manage my plan? And honestly, that depends on your comfort with admin tasks and how much time and control you want. If you're confident managing finances and want maximum flexibility, then self-management might be the right choice for you. If you want flexibility but you don't want the admin part, then plan management is the better middle ground. And if you prefer a simpler approach and clearer rules and don't mind using only registered providers, then NDIS management may be easiest for you. If you're unsure with what you can and can't claim under your NDIS plan, your support coordinator is a great person to ask. They're trained to help you understand your plan and which supports are appropriate under which categories. Plan managers also can explain what's claimable under NDIS rules for the invoices they process, but they don't interpret your entire plan like a support coordinator does. And NDIS staff and also local area coordinators can offer general advice too, but for deeper, more tailored support, your support coordinator is the place to go first. So who do you speak to if your invoice hasn't been paid? If you're NDIS managed, you or your provider can check the status in the portals, NDIS portals, or call the NDIS directly. For plan managed participants, your plan manager is the first point of contact. They'll be able to explain what's happening and follow it up for you. If you're self-managed, you'll need to log into the NDIS portal and review the status of the claim and either contact the NDIS or the provider depending on the issue. And of course, at any stage, if you have a support coordinator in your plan, they will be able to assist you. So what happens when the invoices are incorrect? Well, that depends on how your plan is managed. If you're NDIS managed, the system may automatically reject invoices that don't meet certain rules, and you or the provider will need to follow up with the NDIS directly to correct it. If you're plan managed, your plan manager usually checks invoices for accuracy before processing, and if there are any errors, they may contact you or the provider to correct those. But if you're self-managed, that responsibility to correct any errors in the invoices is entirely on you. You'll need to carefully check the invoice, contact the provider, and if it needs to be corrected, do so. Of course, if you have support coordination in your plan, then they can also assist you in this case. Now, just to summarize everything, your funding can be either NDIS managed, or it is also referred to as agency managed. It can be plan managed, or it can be self-managed, or a combination of any of those. For NDIS managed plans means you can only use NDIS-registered providers. Certain categories of supports can only be NDIS registered, and this will be mentioned in your plan due to the high risks associated with their care delivery. The best time to request changes to how your plan is being managed is during plan reassessment. But in case you missed that opportunity during the plan reassessment, of course you can also change anytime through a change of circumstance request. And one last nugget for you, in certain circumstances, NDIS can make a decision to change the way your funding is managed, where they think that the participant's funding is being misused, taken advantage of, or is continuously being mismanaged. That's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening until the end. I really would appreciate a quick like and subscribe. And if you think this video is useful and can help someone else, please share. And I'll see you in the next one.